it's Ronnie, and welcome to Ginger's Corner 2000 subscriber hop and giveaway. And we're all here to help her celebrate. And there's a few things that she wanted us to use, so I'll be talking about them as we go. I'm going to use this picture of two of my grandsons opening gifts. And then the collections, well, I'm not going to use that sticker sheet, just so you all know. I uh, pulled some scraps out, and they're from a couple of different Echo Park collections. They were scraps. And then Doodlebug. And I'm not sure the names of either one of them since they're scraps. But I went ahead and matted that one piece in some red just to make it pop from the other red that I'm using, because red is one of the things she wanted us to do. So I have definitely got that covered on this layout. The background paper, it was already made up with that red trim around it, and I decided I'd just go ahead and use it since it did have red. And the joy is another thing. She wanted joy in the title. Well, it's going to be my whole title. And I did mount it on white and put foam tape in between the layers, which I'll be showing when I get ready to use it, I think. Sometime or other I will be showing how kind of thick it looks. This little strip right here that's striped, that was the off fall from the punch, and it's laying over there to the right. And I will remember to show it, but it'll take me a minute. And I thought, well, I'll just cut a strip off that red piece that I had as a scrap and layer it on top of the other stripes. And I made sure I layered it to line up with the stripes so I wouldn't have kind of like a check or gingham on there. And so, yeah, the reds line up with the red lines. And I'm not going to run it all the way across. I'm just going to put it down on the bottom of that square, that larger photo mat. And yeah, see, I've got it down there. I'm not going to like it. It's going to get moved down just a little more. And the photo's going to go down with it because I decided I didn't like it up there. And I do like my photo to overlap borders. I did have a hard time deciding where to put my joy, and I decided to set it aside and wait until I get my scraps used up. She wanted us to use scraps and talk about it. So I'm going to make a gnome, and I used it's a flower petal die, and made the beard out of one of the petals. And then this die is also a flower petal. It's a poinsettia, and I just used one of the larger petals there. And then I did a curved cut on the hat. That is a hat. The hat around where the forehead would be. And I'm just going to layer the two. And I'm inking in a blue ink. I used, I think that is broken glass. And I do think I put up my foam little thing wrong because it was there with it. And it looks like it's an oxide, so I used the wrong foam thing. But that's okay. I think once it gets rubbed off the top, it'll be back to normal. I cut the nose and the hands out of a, a three eighths inch punch. They're not very big. And then I'm just freehanding, as it's called, the robe for the little gnome guy, and I'm making him a little bit taller. I thought I needed him taller to fit there on the bottom right, but he ends up a little too tall, so he's going to get to go somewhere else instead of where I had planned in my head. And I'm just putting his head and beard right on top of that. And this little, I mean, it's a little bitty tiny bag of fussy cut presents. I cut like half a page and put in that little tiny bag. And I'm getting the present out for him. And I decided to get a couple that were layered so that when I put his arms on, that it would come up to his nose. And I'm going to cover up his nose just a little bit with it. But while I was doing that, when I held it up there, I thought, I really think I want a trim on the bottom of his hat. since I already have the nose there, I'm trying to make sure I tuck it underneath his nose instead of covering it up. And I just used a really, really old punch that I had that punches out little tiny flowers. And to give it a little more dimension, I'm adding foam tape underneath the presents. And I will add arms in a minute, but I wanted to see exactly where I wanted the arms to go. I usually use an oval punch for the arms, but this time I'm going to freehand it. Since that scrap is kind of funny shaped, I am cutting out almost a semicircle, and then I'm going to cut it in half and have half for each arm. And I'm inking them too, and they're just going to kind of tuck underneath his beard and then come underneath the presents there. But I'm really comfortable using scraps. I use them all the time. By the time stuff gets thrown away at my little scrappy area, it is pretty small, or I ran over it with my wheels on my chair, and it doesn't look like it's worth using. And that does happen every now and then, and it really aggravates me that I dropped it and didn't notice it. I put his hands on, and then I decided that I needed to put some foam tape underneath them. At first, I thought, well, they'll be fine just hanging in midair. And I got the worrying that they would kind of curl, and so I put foam tape under there. And then, let's see, what am I doing now? Oh, I'm fussy cutting poinsettias. I wanted to put something on top of his hat, and I first thought about just putting a white ball or even one of those little tiny flowers that are on the brim of his hat, but I decided to put, well, it's laying right over there in my eyesight, those poinsettias. One side has really tiny ones, and that also has trucks, and the other one has bigger ones. So I'm going to cut one of the bigger ones and one of the smaller ones and use one on his robe and one on the top of his hat. I did cut out the truck, but I'm not going to end up using it anywhere. And I used a piece on that fox builder punch for his shoes. I usually use a circle, cut it in half, and just show the front of his feet. But I decided to make it look like his feet were spread out and turned to the side. And so it gave a little bit different look on my gnome. I do love to make gnomes, especially at Christmas. And of course, Santas and other things. And this poinsettia, it was already made up and everything. A video recently, and maybe within the last few weeks, I made poinsettias for it, and these were leftovers, so I'm using them on this layout. And that's a Tim Holtz poinsettia die. And then the greenery is a combination of Tim Holtz and Gina Marie Designs. And so I'm gonna have leftovers of that too. I will not have no more poinsettia, but I will have leftovers of it. And I always like to have leftovers. I like to put more on my layout, but I don't want to run out and have to stop and make more. So there's a good chance I will have some left over. Here I am trying to figure out what to do with that joy again. I finally decided it would look okay covering up part of my gnome. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I will add it up on foam tape because my photo is, and it was kind of awkward the way it was sitting. So I put foam tape behind it so I could bring it up a little bit higher. One of the scraps I found had ornaments on it, and I did fussy cut one of them out so I could hang it on the tail of the letter Y. I just thought I'd like it there, and I do, so I was glad I went ahead and fussy cut it out. And I did that before I started the video. The candy canes, I've been making cards. Well, not very many. I made a couple of cards for Christmas so I could get them mailed, and the candy canes I had cut out so that I could make them for the cards. Well, I borrowed. They were in a bowl on my desk, and I borrowed some. And so I'm tucking them in with my poinsettias and greenery. Oh, and here's where I remembered I did not put white highlights on my little guy. So I put them on there, and then that joy was sitting so close. I thought, I think I'll go ahead and put some on there for a change. So I am adding highlights to the joy also. And then I'm making my last cluster up there, and I'm getting pretty close to getting done. So while I am doing that, I want to mention that down there below you will find a playlist, and it will include all the links for everybody that are doing the celebration hop with Ginger. Make sure you go check her channel out, especially since she's having a giveaway and you want to get in on that, I'm sure. I am sure. And you also will want to subscribe because she has an awesome channel and loads of stuff to share, especially making embellishments from scraps. So lots of layouts, lots of embellishments from scraps. And she does a swap thing on RTS, Love RTS on Facebook. She's in charge of it and she will share some of that. And you might want to join. But you will have fun watching her videos for sure. Uh, let's see, where am I at? Oh, I decided that little guy looked kind of funny just standing there all alone with no greenery. I thought about putting a Christmas tree beside him, and then I thought, well, I could just go ahead and put a little bit of pine branches and some berries there to fill in that spot and make him look more at home with the rest of the layout. But yeah, that's it. I am done with my layout. And I had a lot of fun using everything she said to use. Well, let me double check. Let's see, I used the word joy and I used the color red. I used the scrap and talked about it. And I mentioned the giveaway. And oh, it's going to be a box of goodies for uh, the ones that's in the US, and then a gift card if somebody in the international happens to get their name drawn. So she's got it open for everybody, just different things depending on where you live. But yeah, there, and isn't that ornament cute hanging on that Y? I have used the joy quite a few times. I'm not sure I've ever done that before though, and that is from We Are Memory Keepers. And yeah, I've had it for several years, so it's discontinued, but it comes with several large dies and they make great titles. I love it. And and I did make sure I put blue packages in my couple of the clusters so that the blue would be in 3 spots since my gnome is in blue. But that was the best scrap I had that would show up with the red that I was going to have on the layout. The red would all just blended in. But if you leave a comment below, I'll try to get back with you. And if you like the video and hit a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. And those of you already are, thank you so very much. But have a happy, scrappy week. Have fun on the hop. Bye.